Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. It's about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going to be talking about the debut album from Kelsea Ballerini, titled The First Time. So I was planning on skipping covering this album, and those of you who watch Billboard Breakdown probably wouldn't have had much cause to blame me here. I spoke a fair bit in that episode about the lead-off single, Love Me Like You Mean It, and the independent country artist behind it, Kelsea Ballerini. You'll also probably remember that I didn't really care for it all that much, considering the stilted production and average at best lyrics that played on the less obnoxious side of Meghan Trainor. It did seem to show signs that mainstream country had finally slid far enough away from bro country that we might have more female artists that are coming new into the scene, but it wasn't as though I liked the sound any better, and it was disconcerting to see an indie label like Black River, who signed Kelly Pickler for God's sakes, try for the exact same game as mainstream Nashville these days. That was disappointing. And yet, for some reason, I started getting a pretty sizable number of requests to actually cover this album, and while June looks to be a much more promising month for country music with new releases, and most of them look pretty damn awesome, I figured I might as well talk about Kelsea Ballerini. Who knows, Lucy Hale proved that she could rise above standard pop country with a better sound and road between. Maybe Love Me Like You Mean It wasn't representative of the whole album, so I checked out The First Time. How is it? Well, to my pleasant surprise, the record's not bad. Maybe the benefit of lowered expectations here, but most of The First Time by Kelsea Ballerini is pretty damn listenable. I'm not gonna oversell this. It definitely does have its fair share of problems, which I'll get to, especially when it's trying to play to what it thinks is a cooler, more mainstream accessible sound, but for the brand of pop country that it's targeting, it works reasonably well. Not quite enough to replace memories of Taylor Swift in anybody's mind, or in Lucy Hale, she's got nothing to worry about, but Kelsea Ballerini is at least tolerable, and I'll take her over most sanitized or overprocessed pop country in the vein of Rascal Flatts or Sam Hunt any day of the week. So okay, how did all this happen? Well, we should start with Ballerini herself. And while she's not really a vocal powerhouse in terms of vocal range or charisma, she does have enough emotive strength to not come across as haplessly adolescent, which was a good thing. It also matters that her vocal cadence and flow through the writing tends to be a fair bit faster, which pushes her more towards her lower range, which is a little bit feistier and comes across as a little bit older, which is a good thing. It's a shame that her vocal production, though, isn't better. The synthetic edges on her backing vocals, they don't fit well at all with the country instrumentation, no matter how much they try to smooth it in post. Really, while some of the multi-tracking is expected, I mean, Kelsey's delivery tends to come across as more quiet or mid-range, and they're trying to thicken it for heavier choruses, although most of that wouldn't be necessary if they pushed her vocals a little bit further towards the front of the mix. I'd argue her strengths come in more restrained, expressive material that's a little bit more complex. Now, granted, the production isn't great here pretty much across the board, more uneven than outright bad. The frustrating thing is that when the album downplays the electronic elements like the few spacey effects or the hints of reverb, or lightens up the bass of the drum machines to gently supplement the songs like on the Lonely Melancholy title track, the gentle floating Peter Pan, Secondhand Smoke, or the murky darkness of Stilletos, the instrumentation tends to work a little bit better because the melody gains more prominence. And while the melodies do fit rather comfortably into pop country, most of them are very workable. They do stick in the brain thanks to solidly layered guitar licks with some smooth prominent tones, or the usage of more pianos to anchor the songs. The problems come with the stiffer, more electronic segments come to dominate the song, like on Love Me Like You Mean It, or Dibs, or the slightly better song Yeah Boy, because the actual guitar grooves feel chopped to ribbons, and the songs lose any real sense of flow for me. And that's not counting production choices that just feel a little bit outside of Ballerini's wheelhouse on this record. Her voice is actually a good fit for a track like Sirens with a heavier groove and a slightly less polished production, but the usage of oohing backing vocals to mimic a siren call completely neutered a vibe that could have gone for something with a little bit more edge, could have gone a little bit darker. As it is, we don't get that. Not at all. But then again, this is pop country, and we're not going to be getting much of an edge anyway, which takes us to our lyrics. Now, to her credit, Ballerini does have primary writing credits across the entire album, but you could tell that the label was none too subtly pointing towards her to capitalize on the vacated space that Taylor Swift once had in pop country. As such, we get more than our fair share of lightweight love and empowerment songs that don't really amount to all that much or all that memorable. Not bad, but far from interesting. And to give Ballerini some credit for not really having many outright bad lyrics. At worst, they skim up against the forgettable cadences of bro country, but at least they do have some flow behind them. The worst case for me is probably on Square Pegs, a generic empowerment anthem with lines like, "Square pegs make the world go round." Yeah, I guess it's a cute metaphor, but the typical definition of square, meaning kind of conservative, and the general white bread nature of the song did add a little bit of confusion to me. Maybe I was just overthinking it. The larger problem is a lack of distinguishing details to define the stories on this album in order to keep them as broad as possible. I'm sure it was a choice here, but it doesn't give the songs a lot of unique identity. It tends to make some of them run together. Now that being said, when the framing does become a little bit more complex, Ballerini actually gets some lyrics with some nuance in, which I did like. I don't love all the production choices on XO at all, but I can sympathize with the frustration of having a partner who can't move on from an ex. Peter Pan describes a flighty guy in this vein, and I was actually mildly surprised how much mileage that she got out of the whole Peter Pan metaphor. Actually pretty well done there. Similar case with Stilletos, this time used for putting on a tough front and being able to face the world despite the pain. Well executed there, I like the detail. But the two songs that stuck with me the most were Secondhand Smoke and the title track. The former for taking a pretty frank look at domestic fights and the trailing impact that it leads onto their kids. And while Carrie Underwood's Little Toy Guns felt a little too overbroad, Ballerini goes into how she doesn't want the same attitudes her parents had rubbing onto her relationships. And that shows a level of maturity and insight that I honestly didn't expect. Then there's the title track, the only song where Ballerini has sole writing credits, and it's probably one of the best on the album, if not the best, where she goes up to meeting with a guy who abandoned her before and hoping against hope that it might work in this case, only for him to screw off with her again and leave her frustrated and alone. And the moral to keep moving forward like she should have the first time, it works in this vein, and yet highlights the humanity and hoping things could have come together by going to meet him. In other words, the first time by Kelsea Ballerini does have some significant missteps. The production does her and her songwriting absolutely no favors, and I get the impression she's still getting a little bit accustomed to being in the spotlight, but you know what, that's a debut album. It's to be expected here, and I'll admit seeing a lot more potential here than I was expecting going in. Ballerini's got talent as a melodic composer and a songwriter with some real nuance, and we need more of those women in pop country outside of the Nashville songwriting machine. For me, I'm thinking a strong 6 out of 10, and definitely a recommendation. It's not gonna change your life, and there's definitely a lot of room to grow, but if you're looking for something fresh before Casey Musgrave sweeps down in a month or two, I'd give this a look. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. Now, as some of you might know, I'm coming up on 10,000 subscribers, which is awesome. Thanks a lot, all of you guys. I really do appreciate you guys following me. I never thought I'd get this far. And thus, I'm going to do something special for my 10,000 subscriber benchmark. I'm going to be doing a Q&A video with any questions that you guys want to ask me. So, put in your comments, if you have any on this video, say Q&A questions, specify that, and I will hope to include it in that actual video. Any questions, I'll just keep in mind though, if you ask me stupid questions, you're gonna get stupid answers. And if you ask me anything personal, just think about this. Would you want me asking that question of you and you having to answer it in front of 10,000 people? Yeah, that's what I thought. But if there's any other albums you want me to cover, or anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. Until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.